That was really cool.
Good. So, field notes, I'm a big user of those, just to keep ideas and notes down. I'm not a big super sketcher, but I will write notes down as to what I'm doing. So I've always kind of have these floating around. And then this is his book. It's on the third, fourth printing now. Um, so it's kind of, goes through his work and things he's done. Um, it's really cool, graphically done, and it's just got his philosophy and his ideas, and it's examples of his work and some of the logos he's done in here. Um, the field notes that he's the brand that he started. It's kind of inspiration. Um, some these are like his products that he sells. Again, guys, I don't think did we talk about design entrepreneurship and like Instagram and doing all that stuff yet? I don't think we did, right? Is that correct? Did I go over that or no?
No, not yet.
All right, so we're going to go over that. But he was kind of one of the inspirations for me to kind of do what I'm doing today. Um, but I always loved his style. He's just cool, good stuff. And again, it gets into other designs. That's my autograph copy here with that. So he's a cool guy, and I think he's a good inspiration for you all as designers to kind of look at. He's got many more videos online that you should kind of look up. And maybe we'll show a couple other ones throughout the semester here. Um, so let's kind of go through kind of what he said. We're just going to kind of wing it and kind of make up a logo. I'm going to share my screen again and get back into what's happening here. We don't need that anyway. So I'm just going to start with a 8.5 by 11. And again, you saw Aaron as he worked, and I worked this similar way. You just kind of keep going. And if you want to keep going, again, we can hit the artboard tool and we can make our artboard bigger as we go. Okay, so right now we're just trying to get ideas out. So, I think the idea of sketching and doodling things down is good. Remember, when you do that, it's really for you, right? These things are not designed to be um, shown to clients. There might be some in there you're going to show to clients, but for the most part, the sketches, the doodles are for you, okay, to remind you of what you're doing and what you were thinking about, um, so you can start to get those out. Okay. Somebody wish you were talented. You guys are as talented as Aaron. Trust me on this, right? Um, one, a lot of it is just kind of learning what's appropriate, learning the software, um, training your eye, and a lot of that just comes from looking and studying online or books, and libraries are opening back up, and I've got a bazillion books here. You know too many anyway, but you guys are, I mean, uh, and Aaron will tell you there's nothing that he does that um, anybody else can't do. um, it's just a matter of going through the process. And there is always luck along the way of getting quote a break with a cool client and all that kind of good stuff. But it doesn't mean you have to. Um, you can do this on your own. Um, I mean, again, case in point, I built a company from a logo, from an idea, um, with the National Park Geek that we'll go through. Maybe we'll do that next class or so. Um, and it was an idea. It was kind of a passion project. And I think you're going to see as you start to look at a lot of these designers, um, it kind of came out of these passion projects. That's what Aaron did, right? He was working, and he was working for other people, and he decided, look, I'm going to start my own little business. And then, and he did. But all of these little products that he makes, that's the passion side of him. And as a designer, he's able to do that. And he started with some stickers or a T-shirt design, or something simple like a pencil. and he's developed it over time, and he's gotten, into bigger things like books, and um, he had a pocket knife that recently came out. So I mean, things that are larger, okay. But he did it because he wanted to, and he liked it, and it was a fun challenge. And it's not that he um, can do anything that you guys can't do. Does that make sense? Um, from a design standpoint. Now there are, and some of you guys might be that great, fine artist who can, paint and draw and do those kind of things, and that's good, and you should use those talents. Um, but I'm not a great quote fine artist, but I think I'm a good photographer. I'm able to take my ideas and translate those. I'm a good designer. I can look at things. I can start to analyze things, and you guys can do this. And I've studied and I met with people like Milton Glaser, who did the I Love New York, who just passed away last year. Um, you know, and I've sat there and had tea with him in his office, just him and I talking. And I know for a fact that um, he was one of the first ones to tell you that you can do this stuff. There's nothing that he did. Yes, he had talents of illustration and things that I could never do from an artistic standpoint, but from a design standpoint, he would tell you, like everybody's got it. You just got to think about it and work it up in your own way. Okay, so don't be afraid to look at and study great designers. There's a ton of people doing work. We're at a great time period where we can actually look at these things. It used to be you had to buy a book, and they had to make a book. Somebody cost a lot of money. Now you can go online and Instagram and find something in a day. All right, so let's kind of go through logos. So there's a couple basic types of logos. Um, there is the icon, which is kind of like, we'll say the M, right? The Nike. And then there's a word mark, which is basically the logo made into a series of words, which we're going to say a vast majority are kind of like that. And then we have a combination where there's a icon with a word mark. Okay. Um, and those are really kind of the three major types of logos. Most companies never achieve the idea of an icon. One, they may not want to do it, but two, like I said, it takes a lot for a company to get to a point where you can kind of do this M and everybody knows that's McDonald's. Okay. McDonald's hamburgers type of thing. Most companies are logo based, and they need to be. They actually, prefer to be that way. So, I'm just looking at, I don't know, I got some Costco magazine came the other day, and we got the Costco logo. Now, could they do some, I don't know, some little shopping cart? Yeah. But would they want to go to that? Probably not, right? So if they were to update it, maybe they add a shopping cart to the word Costco, but the odds are they won't, right? I mean, they got what they call a word mark. So I'm going to recommend, and we're going to be working on logos for a travel agency or travel company, which will be due a week from Thursday. Um, that you do a combination or a word mark, meaning it's words and letters put together in a specific way, and or an icon um, and a word mark together. Okay, so, and again, I'm just going to kind of work up quick ideas here, and I'm going to just kind of do a travel agency, and I'm going to start with a globe, right? And you go, well, that's not a globe, that's a circle. No, it's a globe, right? All I need to do is kind of think about things and get them out. The whole point is to get the ideas out there at this point, and then we'll start to figure out what else we need to do, okay, and what else goes on it. So I'm just kind of thinking about here, and I'm just, since we were talking Draplin, I'm going to call my travel agency Draplin Travel. Okay, so those are my words. Okay, so I'm just kind of putting those in place. Okay, now in theory, this is our logo, right? We've got the name, the combination. We've got an icon, and we've got the name that goes with it. If I didn't have the name here, you wouldn't know what this was. It would make no sense to anybody. It's just a blue circle. Once I put those elements with this in connection, it starts to become a logo and it starts to make sense. Okay. Again, is it perfect yet? No, but it's a way of doing it. And again, that same thing could be above, right? We could just move it over here. So it could be above. That works both ways. Now, this also works. Okay, again, it's not great topography at this point, but again, the word grapple and travel, and if you do it with a classy way of kind of pulling a type together, you can. And again, this is where you go, why do we have so many typefaces? Well, this is kind of why, right? Because I want to be able to go through and start to look and feel and get inspired to that. So let me do this typeface just here real quick. So if I did this, grapple and travel, what does this kind of say to you guys? What kind of travel agency? What are your thoughts when you see that?
Fancy.
Fancy, okay. European, yeah, right. I mean, it could be like this company that specializes in travel to England or France or something like that, right? There's a kind of this old school kind of feel to it.
Yeah, it's definitely not like a beach feel. Yeah,
What's
you're
that?
correct. It's definitely not like a beach feel to it. It's more like
No, no, right. So this is one typeface, right? And I'm going to switch typefaces here. And this is Helvetica. Everybody knows Helvetica. And what's that say to you? Right? All we did was change the font and it has a whole different feel to it, right? This is kind of cleaner. It's more contemporary. It, might be more of a kind of a um, current day. I don't know. It's going to be more of a now traveling now, not and the other one, which was kind of looking back to England kind of a feel. And again, you can even take this same thing and just kind of, even if you change it, here it's going with the oblique where it's kind of angled a little bit. And we go with the black version, which is like very thick and heavy. Let me go to let's see if I have a thin in here. A narrow. No, I don't. I'm going to find a typeface that has a thin in it. Give me 1 second. I'm looking for a certain type. This one's got to have it, all this. Okay, so here's one with a thin version, right? So it's still contemporary, it's still a sans serif, um, but it's very thin, okay? And I can even, change things by opening it up, okay? By increasing the spacing, okay? So that does something else, right? Where we're just stretching out and we're getting the more space or more the gap between the tracking between the letters is moving out. Okay, and again, that has a different feel. Likewise, I can take the same thing and I can kind of go to the opposite, where I can kind of tighten it up a little bit, right? And that has a new feel. So again, as designers, we're really trying to go through these and analyze where they are. So it's not necessarily as much about kind of, this mark. It might be the combination of the two. Okay, where these two together might say something and feel a whole lot better than if this was that typeface that looked like the historical kind of European English travel kind of place, right? So I mean, this is much more. I don't know. Let's go to some place cool, Caribbean modern kind of feel, like this kind of um, destination travel, right? Where you're going to this place and you're going to sit on the beach and it's cool and it's crisp and you're going to get, margaritas handed to you all day. Whereas if we took this one here and we took it back to that other typeface, which was, I think this was it. I messed around a little bit with it. you know, and we did this. Again, that circle might not go now, so maybe we have to do something more like maybe it becomes a castle, right? So now we're working up a little castle. Again, this is a bad castle. Don't hold me on that. So you could do something like this. And again, this is a castle. Obviously, I think the color is off, of course. Leave it to, let me do this. Get rid of that one. I'm going to duplicate that one over. I'm going to put it there. I'm going to select these three. I'm going to distribute. There we go. And pull that down a little bit. And then I'm going to give it a new color. Again, we're just kind of working quick, right? There's nothing what we're doing that's going to be wrong. So we'll do, we'll go a little bit darker there. Grouping those together so they kind of stay. Maybe a little bigger. And now we have literally the same words, two little icons, and they have a totally different feel as to what it is. Okay. So as a designer, we're always trying to get into the heads of our clients to kind of figure out what are they about? How are they? How do they portray themselves? How do they see themselves as a company? Who are they? Who are their clients, right? I mean, the top one is people that might be, you know, have some affluent money that are trying to get to Europe. Um, you know, maybe it's kind of a, you know, historical, cultural kind of trips. We're down here. It's just like, dude, let's go chill at the beach kind of thing. You know, let's go to some kind of crazy island in the South Pacific that no one's ever heard of. And we can get you covered. This one at the top is not the place you're going to call if you want to go to some far out island in the South Pacific and just chill. Okay, totally different, right? So um, the context of how we show this is really crucial. You know, and it's not to say that, you know, the logo says everything. Okay, don't get caught on the fact that you have to think your logo says everything about the company. It doesn't. Okay, it's just a feel. Okay, it may lean towards what they do, but it doesn't necessarily have to. I mean, when we look at the Costco logo here, it just says Costco, right? And it's a little slant, and it's kind of like that's forward. It's kind of a modern typeface. Um, you know, they're touching each other, the characters, so there's kind of a connection there. The forwardness, kind of forward motion. Red is excitement. Um, but it doesn't say Costco is a wholesale place to go get products and food. Okay. So don't think that your mark has to say everything. Most logos don't. Most logos, again, become a symbolic mark for a company, but it does not say everything about that company. Okay. And it can't. You know, many of these companies are huge multi-product companies. I don't think of something like Procter and Gamble, who make Tide and all kinds of cleaning products and health and beauty products, shampoos, conditioners, everything. Right? They've got hundreds of products within their line, but the Procter Gamble logo can't be for everything. Okay, so don't try to get your logo where it says everything, but it should have a feel. All right, so these two logos have a different feel. Okay, to them, and I want you to kind of develop that. I want you to kind of think about what your travel agency be? Now, again, you can use an existing company if you want, or you can make one up. There's no reason you can't do something like we just did here. And then I would probably come back and work this blue circle into something. Maybe it's a globe, maybe it's something with a plane or some kind of something that says cools, something that says travel. Maybe if I said, you know, the Draplin Travel Company kind of specializes in um, travel to the Pacific Islands and those kind of really luxurious places. You know, maybe I build in a palm tree or something like that into this. Likewise with, you know, Draplin Travel above here, you know, maybe I make it maybe a little bit more reference to castles, if that's kind of the thing they do. You know, so I could maybe, you know, kind of work that up and build some other items into it. But again, I don't want to overly do it, right? I'm not trying to make this a photograph. Um, most logos are relatively simple in elements. It doesn't mean it can't be complex, but you don't want to overdo it because remember, it's going to get important to be able to see this bigger and smaller. Um, you know, so you know, we're always trying to think about how would this work. Now, this might not work really well small, but neither will this work really small. Okay, because it's so light, it might not work great. Let me just group it. I'm going to scale it, and we'll see. Now you can actually still read it pretty well. Let's check this one out. Oops. So I'm just holding the option when I click on it, and that will allow me to duplicate. And I'm making that smaller. It's okay, but I think the other one reads a little bit better. The sans serif modern feel reads better than this. It's getting a little complicated with the cursive and the curly cues and stuff like that. It's getting a little, especially the word travel is getting a little bit difficult at a smaller scale. So it's good to try to things bigger and smaller because they're going to have to get bigger and smaller. Now, it doesn't mean I throw this out. It just means I might need to come in there and kind of do some additional things. Maybe I need to pick a little bit different typeface. Maybe I need to track out the letters to make it a little bit more legible. You know, there are ways that I can do things to kind of um, make things work. Okay, and again, that's part of the design process. It's never done in about 3 seconds. And as you saw in the little video with Aaron, he was working up all kinds of ideas, right? And you come back to it and you'll work up more and you'll have other ideas as you go. So you know, it takes time. It's a process. So our work, our assignment is to work up a travel logo. And again, feel free to send me samples of how you're working. If you do, I will say, if you send me samples or stuff, um, you need to make your typefaces outline because if you don't, I don't have the typeface, it's not going to work. I won't be able to see what it is. Okay. So again, to make type outline, highlight it, go to type, create outlines, and now it's just a shape. It's no longer editable type, right? So I can get in there and see this, the outlines on this, and I can even get in there. And don't be afraid to do this. Don't be afraid to get in there and outline and reshape things, right? I mean, we're talking a couple letters in a logo. We're not talking a whole volume book. So it's perfectly fine. And you should consider that as a way of doing it by creating outlines and then coming in and modifying the words, the letters themselves to whatever you might want to do. Okay. Um, very seldom do we use the typeface completely as it is. Many times we're getting in there doing a little bit of a modification on things just to help make it unique and a little bit different, you know. And it might be something like here on the Draplin Travel, where I just want to get rid of maybe the period, or I maybe want to make that dot larger. So I'm just going to select those. I'm going to create outlines. I'm going to dive into it. And when I select it, I get that point, right? And I might want to just take off that point from that. Maybe I say I don't need that, okay? Or maybe I want to get rid of you know, some little corner. Maybe I want to add a little corner to this N, like this L. Maybe I want to kind of add that in, and I can do that. I can get in there with the points and copy that in. Yeah, and again, it's pretty simple. I'm going to just take this letter here. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to just kind of scale it down. So I'm going to add this little curve onto the N. Looks like I might have gotten it a little bit larger. Let me see. It's a little big. I would scale it wrong there, but kind of see what I did. I know it's not perfect. I didn't get it lined up right, but you can add that on, right? So now that it's become an outline, I can go through and modify. Okay. So, you know, think about that as you're working. At some point, you're going to want to potentially change this into outline to do this. As Draplin talked about, keeping things live, meaning keeping things editable, right? So down here, obviously, I duplicated this and I'm looking at playing with the shapes of the letters. But if I'm trying to make other things or out of it, duplicate it all first and then work. Okay, that way you've got that over here to come back to, you know, and even if it's something as simple as playing with the ideas of color, you know, what is that? Maybe it's a gradient or maybe it's some other color. You know, you want to be able to have it so you can kind of look at the two and kind of work that up. Okay, which one's working better? So, you know, work live, meaning keep your objects so you can edit them and change them and move them around. Just make duplicates. It's no big deal. You know, there's no, trust me, you're not going to be having any kind of file size issues here on this. Okay. So again, we're going to be working on a logo for a travel company, agency, whatever it happens to be of your choice. Okay. That's going to be due a week from Thursday. We're gonna put this into something later. We're going to be doing some travel posters. So, you know, the logo is a pretty simple project. The next will be a poster. We'll start on that relatively soon. It'll take a little bit longer to do, I think, but you know, we're going to apply this logo to that poster also. So we'll be talking about poster design. And we still have, things I want to go over too is like business card design and stuff like that. So you can kind of see how this logo would be applied to something like a business card, you know, and what are the components of a business card and all those kind of things. So. Questions? We covered a lot today real quick. Just trying to think if there's any tools we want to do real quick. We'll go over some more tools on Thursday. We've done most of them, honest to gosh, we really have. I mean, there's more things to do here, but you know, we've done quite a bit already, especially I think enough to kind of get you going on this kind of logo thing. So, but I would suggest again, kind of brainstorm on kind of what do you want this place to be or what is it going to be like? Just kind of doodle some ideas down. And, you know, again, those are for you. They're not for me. You don't have to present them. You don't have to do anything like that. I just want you to kind of get the ideas out. And then you're going to bring those ideas into Illustrator and just kind of create. Okay. And I can tell you these ideas will lead you to something else. Okay. You're going to be like, oh, what if I do this? Right. And it's just going to come up something else. You're going to go, wow. So let me do this. Maybe if I took the word Draplin and made that a little bit different. So instead of a thin, maybe I go to, this extra light or light. Okay, maybe that works. No, I don't like that. Yeah, but so maybe I want that same idea, but maybe I'm going to go with the down here, right? So again, that says something different, right? So playing with the weights of the type and how it works together. Um, and what if this is something else? Maybe it's, there's another shape that goes with it. I don't know. Maybe this is the moon. I don't know. Maybe that. I don't know if that works. Maybe it does. That probably doesn't. Okay, but what if I had a D in the circle here? Okay, so again, you're kind of thinking and like, okay, maybe I want to take a D. Um, and I'm just going to enlarge that D up. Same family, same thing. Maybe that's in there. Okay, maybe too big. That's there. Maybe I want to go a little bit thicker, a little medium. Okay, I'm going to play with it. Okay, what if it's white? Okay. Now, maybe I want to reference this. Maybe I'm thinking we travel to New York, right? This is saying the D train for me for New York. I don't know what the color is, but let me show you what that is. So if I know for a fact that there's this, there are trains in New York, there's subways. If you haven't been, go to New York, you're gonna love it, guys. It's pretty awesome. And they have all these different um, maps, and there's the different lines. New York subway map. Let me see if this one has it on it. So the E is blue, the F is there. The D train, I think there's got to be a D train. I don't know. Let's see. A, B, C. Is that D is orange? Sure looks like it. So maybe I want to go D to be orange like the New York subway, right? Because again, I'm using the language that people understand. Okay, so now we just did that and it still works, right? And we're referencing New York City with their trains, subways that are, there's a D train that goes north-south, Manhattan out to Brooklyn, it looks like. And it's orange, right? So here it is. Yeah, D train goes to Coney Island, right? So that's kind of cool, right? It goes from Manhattan all the way out to Coney Island, goes all the way up to northern, goes from the Bronx, going on taking it up all the way up to the Bronx, all the way down to Coney Island. One train, one subway, the D train. Okay. So again, I'm using some of the symbology, the symbols that are already in existence. I could do the same thing. Likewise, if I'm going with that, maybe that European thing. Actually, I want to go back because it's going to get complicated. Just do images. So they likewise have different color codes for trains and stuff. Um, so maybe I want to look at that as a way of kind of doing it. And let me see, I think they call them, do they call them by names? So again, I'm looking at things, my mind starts to travel, starts to get into things as we go, and going to take me to someplace new. So do they name them by, okay, acceptable, that's cool. And again, this is cool art, right? This is cool design in itself. There. Let me just download a 2map. And so they just do colors, looking over here, by the line. So they don't name their lines by numbers or letters. They do it by color and name. So the green line is the district. Okay. But maybe that's something I could work into, my design here, maybe. If I just wanted to say, okay, I like this, we're cool, but I want to kind of show it to historical, but I want it to be modern, meaning I want it to be for today's travelers. So I'm going to pull this over into here. and see if I can make that kind of work. Okay. So I'm kind of combining them maybe with some kind of the symbology of how subways in New York or in London works. I'm trying to bridge the two between historical and modern together. So you're going to find, I think, that logos are kind of fun. Um, they're like rabbit holes. You get into it and you start going down. You're like, holy cow, how did I get here? And you do that by copying and duping and just kind of keep building on things. Eventually you'll get it. Don't worry, you'll know. Or you're going to narrow it down to 2 or 3, and that's perfectly fine. Narrow it down to 2 or 3 and go, hey, what do you think? And send me copies and we'll look at it and we can chat about it. And we have time to chat over the next couple classes also. If you have stuff, you can send it to me and we'll open it up in class and take a look at it. All right, question. I've been talking for an hour now. Questions.
That video was really cool to see that guy's process. It was very impressive.
Yeah, he's cool. And he's got more videos. Not as many going through process, but he has some just kind of his philosophy and ideas. He's a funny man, honest to gosh. If you haven't seen him, Google him. He's got a couple of videos on YouTube. They're funny. Let me just pull up one. Anybody offended by vulgar language? Anybody?
Not with today's world.
Not in today's world. Okay. Give me 1 second here. So these are, I just Googled him. He's got pretty much, and he's got some like lectures he does. I think after COVID, we'll definitely see him back out. He likes to tour and get out and share the world. Let me, okay, so this is one of those. This is kind of this crazy or not. This video went like crazy when it came out. It kind of put Draplin on people's radar just because it's just funny, it's quirky, it's him. But as you can see, like there's a bunch of videos over here, and he does Adobe Live, which is going to be free this year again. So I'll give you guys information on that. He's did a TED Talk. He's well established now. Don't get me wrong, but this is 3 minutes of just graphic coolness. So again, don't be offended by a little bit of the language. I'm actually going to stop. Let me get the share going.